back to protection work. What's the importance of drive channeling in the foundation of protection work? What was, Natasha, what was your answer on that one?
I said becoming comfortable with switching drives in the pace of the fight, taking stress, dealing with threats.
Right. So whether we're going from defense to prey or prey to defense matters, right? So when the dog is operating in prey, what's the dog's state of mind when he's in prey? Chase, catch, kill, but like think about what's the state of mind when you're a predator and you're chasing, catching, and killing. You're confident.
Right.
Right? You're the wolf chasing the fucking bunny rabbit. Right? There's nothing to be scared of if you're the wolf chasing the bunny rabbit. Right? It's not like, not like he's going to get close and the bunny rabbit's going to turn around and he's going to have fangs. Right? So when the wolf chases the bunny rabbit, right, he's supremely confident. Mm-hmm. Right? What can happen in a fight with a man is that the dog is chasing the subject, let's say in prey, jump and run from a vehicle, guy takes off, dog sent to chase him down, he's in prey. But what happens when the human subject realizes this dog is about to bite me? Well, he might decide, I'd rather try and fight it. So he reaches down, picks up a stick, turns on the dog, and he tries to whack the dog as he's coming in, right? Mm-hmm. Now all of a sudden the dog goes from being the predator and chasing the prey to now he's in a fight, right? He's in a confrontation. Now he's in a defensive state of mind where he's under threat and he has to process that, right? So drive channeling is the process by which we teach the dog to go from one drive state to another with confidence. So that dog can go from being in prey to all of a sudden being confronted and he knows how to deal with that, right? So the process by which we teach that is drive channeling. So we put him in a prey state, then we bring him to defense. And then we bring him back into prey when he handles the defense and the pressure. So when we're working in the bite suit and the dog comes in, he bites you, and you turn into him and you put a little defense on, you put a little pressure on him, and he handles that well, and then you go back into prey, right? So you're pressuring, relieving pressure, right? And over time, what you're doing when you take him from prey to defense is you're teaching the dog, you can start in prey and be supremely confident, then we pressure you, right? Slowly and systematically upping the level of pressure the dog deals with, moving from prey into defense. And then the dog learns if he handles that pressure, he'll get channeled back into prey, right? So he goes back to that drive where he's confident. If we're doing it in the opposite direction, we could put the dog in a defensive state to begin with, right? And then what happens? Then we bring him to a prey state. So we pressure, relieve the pressure into prey. Pressure him again, relieve the pressure into prey, right? So the theme here is that the pressure gets relieved on the dog every time he goes from defense into prey. Whether we start in prey or start in defense, it doesn't matter, right? If you remember from controlled aggression, from your reading, when you initially test the dog, what do? You decide, is this a prey heavy dog or a defense heavy dog, right? Is he mostly prey, mostly defense? If he's mostly prey, we start him in prey. We work him in prey and we take him prey to defense initially as his first drive channeling, and then back into prey, right? And we do that basic channel, prey, defense, prey, right? Always ending in prey. If you have a mostly defensive dog, you have to work him where his juice is, right? If he's defensive and not really prey driven, you might have to work him in defense to begin with. But we have to relieve the stress of working him in defense. So he's got to, right off the bat, learn channeling, right? So it's that movement back and forth. And if you look at the scenarios that we do with these dogs, oftentimes everything that we do is based around drive channeling, right? Even if we're doing a building search, the dog is hunting. What drive is that? What drive state is that?
Prey.
Prey, right? He's hunting in the building search, right? And then all of a sudden he comes around the door and you attack him as he comes around the door, so he's in prey. What happens when you attack him? He's got to understand, I can channel into defense and handle that threat, right? And do it with confidence, right? So we have to teach the dog to move back and forth in these drive states. If we don't, he might get stuck in a drive state and not be able to move to the other. That's a problem. If the dog is stuck in defense, he's not going to be able to calm down and get confident and be able to out and think. This drive state of prey is the drive state in which the dog can think the most, right? He can process information better in general. In defense, dogs don't have the ability to process very well. They're fighting. They're fighting for their life, basically, right? So the dog has to understand how to move back and forth. And the clarity, and we often talk about this dog is a very clear dog. That dog's a very clear dog. Where does that clarity come from? It comes from the dog being able to recognize if he's under pressure, he can fight, but as soon as the pressure goes away, right, he can channel back into prey and he can think again. And so when you see dogs that can really follow commands and do obedience when they're under heavy pressure and the pressure goes off and they out on the dime, right? That's a dog with a lot of clarity. That's a dog that can channel his drives. If we don't have drive channeling, things get messy, right? The dog gets stuck in defense and then he won't out, right? Not because he doesn't want to out or he's being disobedient. It's because to him he's still fighting, right? It's like the drunk, that's having a bar fight. And his friends start pulling him off, and he's still swinging as he's 10 feet away from the guy he was fighting with, right? He's still in defense. He still feels like he's protecting himself, right, by staying in the fight. So sometimes we have dogs that need that understanding of how to flow back and forth, right? That's one of the most important things that you'll understand about protection work is if you don't properly drive channel, that's where problems happen. Right? Stress or threat during bite work comes in many regards, right? Comes from the physical pressure the decoy is putting on the dog and the environmental pressure, right? So when that dog is, when you're working a dog, right, and then you decide, all right, I'm going to scoop him up and I'm going to throw him on top of, like you did with Jocko on the filing cabinets, boom, right? What happened? He went up there and he's like, whoa, he was like, whoa, too much. Right? That's something he's a big dog. He's not used to being like picked up and thrown around, right? So all of a sudden, that was a little bit too much pressure for him. He popped off the grip. As soon as he got back on the ground and jumped down, boom, he went right back in. But that's a drive channeling issue, right? So we have to approach that in our training and make sure the dogs understand how to take stress and threat that's appropriate to their age and development and slowly get them neutral to it, to where they're like, I can take that, I can take that, I can take that. What they can take at the very beginning in training is going to be radically different than what they're able to handle stress-wise when they're 3 to 4 months in training, right? You can see this as the dogs develop. But drive channeling is super important piece of the foundation.